We're coming up to the end of Paris Live PM today, but of course we always have our little slot called Live on Live. And I'm joined today in the studio by Wassim Nasr, who's a journalist with our sister station France 24, who specialises in jihadist movements. You're very welcome to the programme today. If you just moved a little towards the microphone there. Now, Wassim, I mean, we all know what happened yesterday in Belgium, but one question that everyone is asking is how come Salah Abdeslam, who was public enemy number one on the run for 4 months, managed to stay undercover under the noses of the Belgian police for that period of time, for like a long time? This is 4 months. Was there a conspiracy of silence in this district of Molenbeek?
Of course, we can suspect that there was a conspiracy of silence, but not necessarily for political reasons. Those people who supported him, who permitted him to stay hidden, don't especially maybe accept or approve jihadi actions. He might have been helped just for family reasons or for friendship reasons. We see this every day in other organizations or criminal organizations. And the fact is that yes, he hid for 4 months, but many before him succeeded in hiding this way. Many people who the authorities were looking for succeeded in hiding next to their homes. Usually it's either next to their homes or very, very far away.
Well, of course, now we just heard today that Michel Sapin has come out being very critical of the Belgian police. Do you think that the Belgian police are at fault here for not tracking him down?
No, I guess that they tried to track him down, but where they faulted is, or you can imagine this, but it's very particular to say that they faulted after what we know what happened in Paris on the 13th of November. So did the French police also faulted? I don't think we should take this path. They faulted because they didn't get him to speak about his accomplices, if there were any. Because we know that he knew at least 2 of the attackers of Brussels, but we don't know if he knew their plans. We don't know if he knew the day they were going to hit. And we know for sure that they didn't hit to avenge him. They hit because they had the opportunity to do so. That's what should be taken into consideration. And because once he was caught, maybe they thought that time was getting out of their hands.
Now, let's just say you follow very closely. You're a specialist in jihadist movements. Now, talking about districts such as Molenbeek, in your opinion, do you think that Abdeslam moved from a safe house to safe house? That he wasn't just in the one place for 4 months? I mean, is there a network of safe houses across Europe? One could say.
No, I don't think that we should imagine that there's a very complicated network of safe houses, as we could have imagined maybe during the Cold War.
Well, the IRA in the 1970s,
where they are really organized sectors by town, by city. I guess that he moved from town to town, from house to house in his neighborhood, the neighborhood where he grew up, the neighborhood he knew. The neighborhood where he knew there were vacant apartments. So I guess that this is the way it was handled by him. We shouldn't imagine it was much sophisticated, I guess.
Now, of course, I mean, we all know that jihadists are very, very well adept at using social media and the internet, for communication, but also to purport their propaganda. Now, you follow the chatter of jihadists online. You see, you engage with these people. You've talked to them. Now, just can one notice a spike in this chatter ahead of any of the attacks, like such as the attack that happened yesterday in Brussels? Can we see any trends?
No, I don't think so. This is a myth. We don't see any trends for very simple reasons. When those people are on a mission for the Islamic State, the mission is was given a long time ago, and they have full liberty to choose the timing, the place, and how to do it. We should remember that they acted on their soil in Brussels, in their city. They bought the arms there, they manufactured the explosives there, and they chose the targets, despite the fact that Brussels was on the level 3 of alert. And despite this fact, they attacked the airport and a metro station just next to the European Commission. So they had total liberty to do so. And the proof of that is that when we look at the communique of the Islamic State that claimed responsibility, we see that it was based mostly on information in the media. And how do you know that? Because they spoke in their official communique about Kalashnikovs. And today we know that there were no Kalashnikov found in the airport.
Sure. Now, Wassim, we speak in Europe of de-radicalization. We say, we talk of de-radicalization, that these people have to be deprogrammed. But do you think that there should also be a global sensitization to the fact that the Islamic State group and people that are affiliated to it have little or no knowledge of Islam? I mean, we have seen there's a great video online of just really underlining like people like the Abdeslam brothers who ran a bar. They sold it weeks before they carried out the attacks here in Paris. 9/11 terrorists were lording it up. They were getting drunk in Las Vegas before they committed the attacks back in 2001. And, we had British jihadis who were caught in Syria last year, whose only look at the Quran was Quran for Dummies or Islam for Dummies, this popular series that you can get. And they bought it on Amazon. I mean, what can we actually say to people who will then jump on the bandwagon and say, oh, well, any Muslim is an Islamist extremist? I mean, what is your experience been?
I'm going to tell you one thing. I might surprise you. It's completely irrelevant. I'm going to tell you why. Do each and every person that joined the communist guerrilla or revolutionary groups knew Karl Marx by heart? I don't think so.
Well, this is the whole point.
We should imagine that there's a religious basis and there is a political motivation. And people can be overwhelmed by this political and religious ideal that they are searching for without knowing in details the religion of Islam. We cannot say today that it doesn't have anything to do with Islam, as we cannot say that Crusaders didn't have anything to do with Christianity, but they do not represent the message of peace and tolerance of Christianity. It's an offshoot of Islam. But we cannot deny the fact that today, in our 21st century, people are motivated for religious and political basis combined, either in the Islamic State or in other places.
Now, on that point, I mean, that was the main thrust of things. So people really have to look beyond the whole idea of religion to say, no, this is also politically motivated.
Of course.
So let's look at motivation here as well. I mean, in your opinion, do you think that jihad, as we are seeing it here with these lone wolf attacks or whatever is happening around the planet, that jihad is here to stay, or is it just a passing fad, a zeitgeist? Now, you were talking there, of course, of communists. Did every person who went off to fight in the Spanish Civil War, for example, with the Pumistas, were they all adept at Karl Marx? No, they were motivated. They were politically motivated.
Exactly.
But, of course, that was of the time. That was of like the communism versus fascism of the 20s and the 30s. And of course, we could look even back to the 70s and 80s, where you had skinheads and people coming from disenfranchised neighborhoods. But that fizzled out. Will the same happen with jihad, or is it here to stay?
I cannot tell exactly if it's gonna get less and less important with time. But what I can say is that today we are living in a period of political void, if I may say so, which makes that this ideology and this seeking of something more idealistic, more and more attractive for many people all over the globe.
Well, we're seeing the political void also in America, where everybody is voting behind populist, the Trump's populist agenda, for example. That's a bandwagon that everyone's jumping on.
America still makes its own people dream.
Not people in Mont-la-Jolie.
Exactly. Not people here. Many people here in Europe do not dream anymore. Many people in the Arab world do not dream. What do you have to offer? What do you have to offer? Is it military rule in the Arab world or corrupt rule? What do you have to offer here in Europe? Is it only a capitalist system, a consumption system? Yes. You see, because many people are attracted. It's not the regular, if I may say so, jihadi public that is attracted, like in the days of Al-Qaeda. I talked to people who were for ecology, who were altermondialist. How can I say that?
Anti-globalization campaigners.
Exactly. Who joined the ranks of the jihadists. So today the scope is wider. The scope is wider, and they are addressing a much wider public today in comparison with Al-Qaeda.
Well, of course, I mean, with the issues are surrounding de-radicalization. I mean, European countries such as France have been very behind in, they've been promising for years to address the root causes that you just mentioned there, like, better education, better facilities, better communication with community police, better opportunities. But this hasn't happened. I mean, even since the wake of the Salah Abdeslam over a year ago, and even more recently the 13th of November attacks, nothing is put in place. This is a failure of the state as well.
Yes, it's a failure of the system as a whole. Because when they are French, when they are British, they are French and British. Those who attacked in Paris were French and from Belgium. Those who attacked in Brussels, so they are people, citizens, European citizens. They are not coming from abroad. So of course it's a failure for the systems here. But still, we are still in the phase of denial, I guess. We are still refusing to accept that some of those European citizens are hating their own countries and are being motivated by religious, political reasons and willing to die for it. Willing to blow themselves for it. You see? So this is to be taken into consideration to measure how important is what we are seeing and what we are seeing in our own countries.
Okay, well, it is indeed. Unfortunately, as always, we have too little time, too much to ask. But I would like to say, Wassim Nasr, thank you very much for joining me today. Thank you.